The end of that game in Atlanta hurt. Oh. But your NFC North leading Packers still had plenty of highlights for us to talk with you about. And, of course, we're going to preview the Packs' home opener against the New Orleans Saints. Join us. We'll make it fun. And it's all on this edition of your Packers Fan Podcast.
What's up, everybody? I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and yes, the loss this week stung, but there's still plenty to be happy about if you can see the silver lining. Thanks so much for joining us this week. I'm shockingly optimistic about the Packers, except for maybe the defense, but we'll get there.
And I'm Wayne Henderson, doing my best to just look to the future in the next two games that are at Lambeau Field coming up next week. It's going to be a green and gold week for all of us, to be sure. This is episode 277 of your Packers Fan Podcast, and if you didn't know, this is the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. And on this edition, we're going to recap that Packers loss to the Falcons on the field turf in Atlanta. And you, dear listener, definitely let your voice be heard. Scott and I will be sharing your thoughts in just a bit.
Then we'll finally get to preview the Packers home opener. It's finally here. Took 3 weeks, but we're finally there. Bring on the Saints. And also we'll be including my keys to a Packers victory over New Orleans. So let's jump right into it, Wayne. I got to say, I'm coming into this when we have a little banter before we actually hit record. And you kind of came in, and I feel like it's weird that I'm the one looking at the glass half full this week. You just kind of are like, oh, we lost. We lost. The roles have reversed, man. It's very strange to me.
Well, that's the kind of month this is.
I hear you. Trust me, I hear you. But, we lost, but there's a lot of good things to talk about.
Yes.
So let's start with the highlights. The Packers leaders this week, Jordan Love, 14 out of 25, 151 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. Believe it or not, he was also the second highest rusher with 23 yards.
All right.
I thought that was an interesting fact. A.J. Dillon had 15 carries for 55 yards. Dontavian Wicks, 2 receptions, 40 yards for a touchdown. And not 40 yards for a touch, but 40 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Reed had 4 receptions for 37 yards and 2 touchdown passes as well. So the numbers were looking good. And speaking of those touchdown passes, how about the first career touchdowns by not 1, but 2 Packer rookies? First off, Jaden Reed had a short pass that he ran around the right side with some beautiful extension to get in the corner of the end zone. That was awesome to see. And he even had a second one. But it was only for 10 yards, but it was in the third quarter on third down. And Dontavian Wicks, already mentioned it, had a 32-yard catch after a holding penalty that was in Green Bay's favor that put us in good position there. I just love how nobody thought Green Bay was going to be amounting to anything this season. The offense is so young, and Jordan Love is no Brett Favre and no Aaron Rodgers, and he's just proven them wrong, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I love that these two guys were just so excited to get their first career touchdowns with the Packers, and they did great. They were all 3 great catches. So kudos to everybody that was involved in those plays.
It was fabulous to see. The only downside would be it's too bad their first touchdowns couldn't have been at Lambeau Field, but we needed them this week in Atlanta, so we'll take them when we get them. And They're just going to have to do it again this coming week against the Saints, and then later in the week against the Lions, and get their Lambeau leaps in and break into that category as well. Mid-game, it was pretty satisfying, at least to me, to see our defense hold the Falcons to a field goal after a 4 or 5 play goal line stand. It gave me a lot of hope for the rest of the game that would be dashed a little while later, but it was still great at the time.
I can't get over how Wayne is so pessimistic this week.
No,
like we're in the highlights, man, and you keep bringing up the down stuff before we even get there.
I talked about the good first. The only thing that's down is it hurts because we had that game. We were pretty far ahead, not comfortably ahead, but we had that game in hand and just let it slip away, and there's just no reason for it. But I'm still super excited and super positive for all of the rest of the games this season and all the victories that are coming our way.
I am not reading this. I am very excited for the future season of Packers football. No, I'm with you on this stop. That was really cool to see because the Falcons had a touchdown that was overturned. If you remember that play where he, apparently didn't have his feet in bounds, I don't know if, I'm not complaining, but I don't know if I agree with that. To me, that was a catch, man. I just don't understand the rules of the football game anymore when it comes to all that. Because to me, as long as your toes are inbound and then your heels come down and you've got possession of the ball, that should be a touchdown. Maybe I'm misreading it. Someone's going to email me and tell me I'm wrong. But like I said, I was happy with the result. I just don't know. I don't understand. And I was watching a game in a bar, and usually we have a little speaker so we can hear, the commentary. But, because we had to go to a bar to watch it because the Bears were playing at the same time and we couldn't watch it on local TV. So, we had to go out someplace to watch it. And the Bears audio superseded and they ran out of speakers. So we had no way to, I couldn't hear the commentary. Was there any explanation as to why that was overturned?
I don't remember it all that clearly, but it seemed like even the game announcers, as well as the ref that they call in, the professional who's usually retired or something, they seemed a little in disagreement about it as well. So it's very strange. I don't know if it's some new rule. I think it would have worked out great if that player on the Falcons would have had toes but didn't have any heels. If he had some sort of interesting foot type, I think he would have been just fine. But he had heels.
What are the weirdest things you could say if he didn't have heels? Okay.
I don't make the rules. I just watch the game.
Oh, my
goodness. And I'm sorry to hear that the Bears audio superseded the Packers. That's unfortunate.
That's what I get for living in Bears country, man. It comes with the territory. I love this town, but yeah, it is what it is. I got to talk, too, about that opening defensive drive. Rasul Douglas picked off Ritter, which was really awesome to see. That pass deserved to be intercepted. I have no idea where that thing was going. It was a weird lob pass that went really high, in coverage. It was in the air for so long that half the team was able to get in that location by then. So I don't know what was going on there, but I love seeing Douglas just pick off passes, so I could do that all day.
It was a beautiful thing. And you made a great point, Scott, because sometimes you see a pass and you're like, that has to be intercepted. There's no way that's going anywhere but in the opposing team's hands.
Mm-hmm,
and thankfully, he held on to that one. That was super cool. And, let's talk highlights. Good things, exciting things. Like me being super excited to see A.J. Dillon doing some great runs again. He, with Aaron Jones being out this week with an injury, A.J. Dillon was the man, and I think he came up to the plate just fine. He was doing some strong runs, and some of those, he had at least two, I think, where he was being stopped after like 5 or 6 yards, but then 5 or 6 other Packer players came to help push him and keep him going, and he stayed on his feet, and it was just a fabulous thing, very rugby scrum-ish, but it's the kind of thing that makes you say, go Pack, go, right?
Totally. Go Pack, go indeed. Those plays crack me up, too, because I never understand what decides when the whistle gets blown. Because, sometimes they blow the whistle before a guy is tackled, and he's still moving forward. Why are we blowing the whistle already? Let him move forward until they actually drag him down. I have never understood that whole rule. But I have some thoughts on Dillon, but I'm going to save those for my keys to victory in a bit.
Ooh, color me intrigued. Well, do you have any other highlights, or shall we dig into a few lowlights?
Yeah, we can go into the lowlights, man.
All right. With a chance to clinch victory, some terrible communication on offense led to Jordan Love going all false start on his own quarterback sneak play. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. Jordan didn't even have the ball. I don't know if maybe the center started to hike it, but then held onto it and didn't let go, or if Jordan just thought he had the ball, or if he was fully committed to such a fake that he was faking even having the ball. But it seemed bizarre, and it was just one of many things down the stretch that cost us the victory. But have you seen anything like that before?
Never. It's one of the most bizarre and embarrassing plays I've ever seen. I think this is worse than the infamous butt fumble.
No, come on. That thing is epic in its legendary. This was just a miscommunication, but I don't know on whose part.
Right. And the funny thing is I don't feel like he's getting dogged for it. quite like plays like the butt fumble were. You know what I mean? Because he had such an exceptional game outside of that people are okay overlooking that for some reason. I mean, I don't have ESPN all day, so I'm sure that there was some "come on, mans" or something like that. I don't even know if that's
I didn't think of that. That's probably airing in about 10 minutes as we record this when they do
Right.
"Come on, man."
Right. Yeah, but and the biggest low light for me, I hate to say it, man, but is the defense. They were just gassed way too early. I mentioned last week Atlanta was clearly going to rely on their run game, and they did. The defense just simply couldn't handle the run. We sacrificed way too many first downs to put the Falcons into position for scoring too often, and I think that's going to be our biggest downfall this year. I know people are calling for Barry's head already. I'm not there, but I just don't get it. You guys are professionals. Why are we letting some of those go through? Some of them should have been easy tackles.
I agree. And I also agree with, let's not go crazy with calling for Joe Barry's head after 2 weeks. The first few weeks of a season are always just so up in the air. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, it's just one of those things that could it be conditioning or could it be just that they haven't fully worked out all the kinks yet for this particular season? And when they get back to Lambeau, it's going to be full on and we're going to be praising the defense again.
Especially when our offense just seems to be clicking so well.
Isn't that weird? It's usually the other way around in week 1 and 2.
Well, especially with a brand new quarterback and a young offense like this. I just really did not expect the offense to look this good. I thought that the defense was going to be winning our games, at least for the beginning of the season until they got into a rhythm. But the offense feels like they're in a rhythm and the defense, for the most part, does not. I mean, there's been some quality plays. I know Van Ness is hurt, but he had some awesome tackles, or he had an awesome sack last week. Mm-hmm. And, he's all over the field, and I'm really glad he's on the team. Bummer that he's out, but I just overall, I hate being in that spot again where the defense is losing us games.
Me neither. I'm just not a fan of it at all. And you brought up an interesting point: injuries, even more injuries. Elton Jenkins went out with a knee injury, which I didn't even know for a couple of minutes or plays. I'm like, oh, now they're going to talk about it. And this just came out about an hour ago from Rob Demoski at ESPN. He said the Green Bay Packers were already without All-Pro left tackle David Bakhtiari, and now Pro Bowl left guard Elton Jenkins is expected to miss multiple weeks because of the left knee injury he sustained in Sunday's loss to the Falcons. I was hoping he'd be back this week. Multiple weeks, Scott.
Yeah. Well, what's the status on Bakhtiari? I feel like he's playing less than he is playing. This has been like the story of the Packers for the past couple seasons. Like, can a guy not get healthy in the offseason? What is the deal?
Did you see any of the conspiracy theories?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I saw a few people talking online, but, conspiracy theories. So maybe he is having a little knee issue. Other people were saying, no, he's purposely not coming to this game because of his stance on the AstroTurf, the field turf. And so he's saying he's got an injury and he's just not going to play till they get back to Lambeau and play on grass.
Well, if that's the case, then we should see him this week and that'll help. But
it gives us hope in that respect. And you alluded to Lucas Van Ness. He got banged up a bit as well, and it's his elbow. Haven't heard yet if it's serious enough to keep him out this week, but we need that guy. He's a beast. Total beast.
I agree. Totally agree. But that's what we thought of the game. Let's see what everybody else in our community thought of the game. If you would like to be a part of our upcoming podcast episodes, you can either call in at the PFP voicemail line, which is 920-3PACK-GO, or record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. Do recommend you recording it beforehand and emailing it. It is a much better sounding quality, as you'll hear very shortly. We want to hear some of your predictions for the Week 4 Lions at Packers game. Deadlines for your calls most weeks will be Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Looks like we got one from Megan. Look forward to these every week. What does she have to say? She was at the game, wasn't she?
Not this game, the next one.
Go, Pack, go! This is Megan. It's a few hours, an hour after the game ended. I will start on some positives. It was a great game. I mean, there was definitely room for improvement, but I said it last week, and I have a feeling I'll keep seeing it, but there's something to be said about sitting behind the GOAT for 3 years. Aaron did it. Jordan did it. He just looks so poised and confident and comfortable to me. Like, whether he's throwing the long ball or throwing these, like, short dart passes up the middle, he doesn't seem to, like, fret. I get the last drive was a little bit of a more high-pressure situation, which he does need to do well in those, but at the end of the day, I feel like he looks comfortable in the pocket. The O-line, for the most part, did a great job giving him a good amount of time, and, you know, he looks like Aaron in a lot of ways. So props to him, props for him and the receivers, the young guys, all of them for being on the same page. Props to the receivers for their ability to drop PIs this game. I am glad we capitalized on the second one. There were a few moments throughout the game that I wish we could have, like, actually capitalized on things. But it's okay. It's only week 2. I thought Matt did a great job drawing up a good game plan. I was nervous when I heard that Elkin was out, but it really did seem like they did a good job protecting him. It was good to see AJ having more of a chance to run. He kind of got a little more physical as the game went on, so I would like to see that throughout. But it was awesome to see him have more opportunities. A few times we could have had picks and didn't. Those are more things we can work on. But in general, I felt like the defense really did do a great job. Also, can they get a little more creative with their reporting? I started to keep a tally, to be honest, of how many times they said we're so high on our guys. Maybe for good reason. They said it about Van Ness twice, Musgraves once, and Quay Walker once. And I'm just like, you guys need to come up with some more creative material. But at the end of the day, it was kind of a hard loss at the end there. We did kind of like step on the brakes. There were several times that I felt like the defense was on the field for like a very long period of time, and I'm sure they were feeling tired. It was good to eventually see us put together like a long sustained drive to just give them a rest and just show people what we've got. Like, we have all these haters, and I know we didn't come out with a win, but it was a close game. I wish we would have just done a little bit more to pull it out at the end, but here we are. We're on to week 3, home opener. So that's going to be a big one. New Orleans is coming to town, and I hope our fans can just pack and rock that stadium. I plan to be there, and I just can't wait. I have a very cheap standing room ticket only, but that's fine because I only ever stand during the games. And I'm hoping to meet up with Marty from the podcast before. I think we're going to make it happen. So we'll have to maybe FaceTime Wayne and Scott and do some little Go Pack Go Packer Fan Podcast cheering. Bring on the Saints, on to a new week. I hope they can give themselves credit for the things they did well and then see other opportunities for improvement. Let's go! Go Pack Go!
Go Pack Go indeed, Megan. It is awesome to hear from you as always. Hopefully I get to go up there and meet you for one of these games. My wife and I are still deciding which game we are going to. We are going to a game this year, Wayne. We are going.
Nice.
Just depends on which one. We're looking maybe week 11, not sure. Trying to get through October. October is a crazy month for me, so we'll get there. But yeah, I love what Megan said about Jordan looking so cool, calm, and collected. She compared him to Rodgers, probably in the earlier years. But yeah, I mean, he's not getting emotional. That was the thing I said, is that it's fun seeing him when somebody drops a pass or doesn't make a completion or whatever. He's not getting angry at him and yelling and screaming. He just kind of sits down and takes it in stride, and he gets excited, but not stupid, overjoyed excited. He's all about the game. And I love seeing that in a quarterback in his first season as a starting quarterback full time. That's great to see. And she made a good point too with the good protection. Hopefully that sticks around with Jenkins out of there, and who knows what's going on with Bakhtiari. But I'm a little jealous she gets to be there for the home opener. Or no, yeah, she is heading to the home opener.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
It ought to be loud. I mean, we've been waiting. We're already into week 3. We usually get at least one home game the first 2 weeks, but yeah, I like how Megan put it. She's hoping fans pack and rack Lambeau Field.
I like it. Yeah, it's pretty much, you don't sit down at Lambeau, man. Like you maybe during like in between quarters or halftime or something, but yeah, you do not sit down at Lambeau Field. you can't see anything. Everybody's standing. So, yeah, someday, man, I'm gonna get you there. We're gonna see a game at Lambeau together.
Oh, absolutely. It will happen. It probably won't be this season. I wish it could be. But next season, 95% sure it'll happen.
Nice.
And we'll go from there. Let's check and see who else gave us a call or sent in an email to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com.
Go, Pack, go! That's right, Packer Nation. Shake it off. Do a Taylor Swift and just shake that thing off. Sorry,
no.
There's no musical accompaniment this week, but if there was, it would have to be the sound effect from the Price is Right when a contestant loses. Hey, it is what it is. I said last week to temper our expectations because this is a very young team. I'm looking through my notes and I see the word inconsistent pop up 2, 3, 4 times in here. But it was good to see for three quarters looked pretty good. But it did kind of look like Packers of old. The pass to run ratio was 25-21. But we kind of started in a hole without our starting running back, Aaron Jones. No starting wide receiver with Christian Watson. No starting left tackle with David Bakhtiari. In the first quarter, we lost our Swiss Army knife, Elkling Jenkins, to a knee injury. It just didn't pan out for us. 1 point loss, not a big deal. We can obviously come back from it. The penalties weren't too bad, 7 for 40. The one that really ticked me off was the delay of game. Everybody on that team, including the people on the field and the people on the sideline, can see the play clock going down. Why somebody didn't call a timeout, I'll never know. And the other part that's really frustrating on that one is last week, Anders Carlson kicks a 57-yard field goal outdoors in Chicago in a stadium that's right off of a lake. This week, we're in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, indoors, with no elements to speak of, and that penalty took us from a 48-yard field goal attempt to a 53-yard field goal attempt. Why aren't you going for it, Matt LaFleur? Come on, Frenchie, you're better than that. You got a kicker that can obviously has a leg that can kick, I would say, beyond 60. Those last 3 possessions were, in the fourth quarter, just a total meltdown. 11 yards total in those 3 possessions. No first downs, no completions. It's no wonder why the defense was gassed at the end of the game. Look through the box score. The Falcons ran 31 more plays than the Packers did. 31 more plays. And had the ball an additional 13 minutes. They just bled the clock with their running game. And I know a lot of people are going to be blaming Dylan for not coming to the table and, doing what Dylan used to do. But they were putting it all on his shoulders. They didn't even use the other 2 running backs available much. Wilson and Taylor, they only ran the ball 4 times combined. And I think we all know that Dylan is a north to south runner, not an east to west runner. And they kept on trying to make him, hit the corners of the offensive line. That's just not his style. And this is a running back by committee type of team where they have to lean on multiple running backs, not just a one bell cow. And that's what I think they did. And I didn't agree with the play calling and the scheme that they drew up for this week. But, again, these are the mistakes that come with having a very young team. So, like I said in the beginning, got to shake that off. Another observation, we have all this youth and all this speed on this team, and I don't remember seeing a single jet sweep or a single touch pass. That right there alone, like I said, inconsistent play calling. You use the tools that you have, Mr. Frenchie Lefleur. Come on, you're better than that. Let's pull it all together, because guess what? New Orleans is coming to town for our home opener to Lambeau Field, baby. Let's get it on. They will bounce back this week, and they will put a dub in the win column. I'm calling it right now. I'm not too worried about the running defense this week. because we're going to be facing Jamal Williams, and we already know what he brings to the table since he used to be a former Green Bay Packer. You got Chris Olave and Michael Thomas as wide receivers, and they present a huge threat in the passing game. But we will overcome those threats, and we will come away with the win. I'm predicting 24-13. And just for you, Scott, I'll make this one short. Go, 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 Pack, go.
Well, Dan, that was a surprise. Did it catch you off guard, Scott?
Yeah, I was expecting the long one again, but yeah.
Thought you had another 20, 30 seconds to savor in the goodness. Dan, thanks so much for putting that together and saying it in and suggesting that we shake it off and try to just get over the inconsistency. And great point. I should have had this in the lowlights as well. The delay of game penalty, it was maddening.
I didn't have commentary. I just could not for the life of me understand why. Because I've seen that done before where they want to, kill the clock a little bit and just move it back 5 yards. So, it's but then they punted. Didn't they? They didn't even go for the field goal.
This was not that. This was something else. And this was one of the most egregious delay of games ever. I'm thinking, are they going to throw a flag? Why are we in the minus 5 seconds? And finally they threw a flag and then we punted. Like Dan, like you said, we probably could have made that. It was indoors. We've got a leg. Maddening, right?
It was incredibly maddening. I mean, that would have given us the 3 points we needed. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. 31 more plays than the Packers is insane. I read that the Packers only had the ball for like 23 minutes of the game as well. That's huge. No wonder the defense couldn't do anything in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's a great point. I did not realize that until Dan's call. So if that's the case and we can get that balanced out a bit, that alone will help our defense to be able to do what they do best. And frustration from Dan at the Packers asking A.J. Dillon to run against his own running style. Yeah, I don't know why they keep making people try to do something that they're not best at, because Dan suggests, Coach Frenchie, use the tools you have.
I don't think I've ever heard him referred to as Frenchie before, but I'm never gonna not think of that.
Yeah, so good to hear from you, Dan. And we also got an email from CCR here. Hello, Wayne and Scott. This is Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher coming in from Titletown, USA. What an atrocious game. That's a good way to describe it, Scott, and it's a bunch of syllables. I like it. We had the lead through the first half, but we couldn't even come away with the win. We had blown chances with Romeo Doubs, that touchdown that should have been but wasn't. And that false start on 4th and 1 when the offensive line didn't move. Like, why can't you follow the play? Anyway, we did lose, but Jaden Reed had 2 touchdowns, and no matter what, go, Pack, go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. From CCR, thank you for the email. Now, time for our weekly poll question, and thanks to Scott for the excellent poll question this week on our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on X at Packers Fan Pod this week.
All right, we're going to try to think positive.
Yes.
I feel the weird one being positive. One of the things I didn't mention in the highlights is that this is 2 weeks in a row that Jordan Love has thrown 3 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. That's we should be talking about that. That is a huge deal. No interceptions. I'm not going to say flawless because that fumble thing or that quarterback sneak thing happened, but there's a lot of things to be positive about. So I want to keep that positivity rolling. So yes, the loss does sting, but what to you is the main positive thing that you think can be said of the Packers this week? And this is combining Facebook and, I'm sorry, dude, I'm calling it Twitter. I refuse to call it X.
Okay, whatever.
But here were the 4 choices. The first one was Packers still being in first place in the NFC North. The second is Jordan Love's performance in Atlanta. Anders Carlson still perfect in his career kicking field goals, or the first career touchdowns by 2 of our rookie wide receivers. Wayne, what do you think? Which of these was the best thing to be excited about?
I think even though it's great that we're still technically in first place, it's so early in the season that could change in a hurry. So I'm definitely going to go with Jordan Love's performance in Atlanta. Aside from that thing at the end, he looks solid, and no interceptions is something to be very happy about. He's exceeding expectations so far. Love it.
I agree. If you remember at the beginning of the season, I said we're going to be a running team, which I was excited for. But it feels good to know that we can do both types of offense here and mix it up, confuse the defense. And I just, like Megan mentioned, the cool, calm, collective nature of Jordan Love. He is all business on that field, and that's exactly what this team needs right now, is a businessman taking snaps. So, yeah, I'm going to go Jordan Love's performance in Atlanta as well. Our community felt a little bit differently. 16% said that the Packers being in first place was the most positive thing. 30% said Jordan Love's performance. Only 8% said Anders Carlson still being perfect, and 46% said the first career touchdowns by two of our rookie wide receivers. So I was not expecting that. I did not think that would be the most positive thing. I mean, it was awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's hard for me to top what we saw from Jordan Love. We also had some comments on the poll in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group. First off, Esteban Guadarrama. He says, I hate/love that I haven't been able to be mad that we don't have Crosby. I got to give Carlson my begrudging respect. Hashtag not my Mason. That was pretty good.
Well done, especially on the hashtag. Love that. Peter Allison in the Facebook group said, it's really no coincidence that our offense struggled after Jenkins went down. Never even saw the injury happen. They said nothing until he was just on the sidelines, dressed down. Got to keep saying this, but I really hope Joe Barry gets a bad case of diarrhea. He had absolutely no answer for the Falcons' run game. We had plenty of opportunities to get the Falcons off the field and maybe give the offense some good field position, but they just let them churn out the yards and the time of possession to limit Love's chances. You never want to limit Love's chances, Scott, in life and in football.
You should never limit Love.
No.
Let Love fly.
Oh, my goodness. Peter continues, the line was again great at pass blocking, the average to poor in run blocking, until Jenkins went down when it all broke. Love does need to be a little bit better under pressure, but given all the players being out, he did brilliant. The touchdowns were all great, and it's fantastic to get a couple of the new guys up and running. The offense will learn and hopefully get better. Hopefully Jenkins' injury isn't a bad one, and we are just having precautions like for Bakhtiari and the turf. So that was good. Thank you so very much for that. Some other fun stuff in the Facebook group, unrelated to the poll question. Megan, Dictus, and Caleb all showed off their latest Packer caps that they're wearing on game day. Looking good.
Also, speaking of Megan, did you see the green and yellow sourdough bread that she baked?
Oh, man, I love bread. Probably a little too much. And if it's green and gold and homemade...
Well, that's the thing is, like, that's the unfortunate thing about being a fan of a team with colors green and gold. It's hard to make food look appetizing with those two colors, but she pulled it off, and I definitely want some sourdough bread. So,
what if you were a fan of the Falcons or the Raiders, and you got black and red bread and black and silver? No, green and gold. That's a beautiful thing. All these and a lot more great conversations happening in the group right now. Check them all out and join in. And as always, your calls and emails and comments and support are so much a part of the Packers Fan Podcast. Got to say thank you for that.
And remember, you can also be a part of the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversations. Just head over to packerscommunity.com for all of that information.
Let's look to the future. Onward and upward, right, Scott?
Hey. Positivity is coming back, Wayne. I love it.
That's right, because we're looking to the future. Your 1-1 Green Bay Packers will finally play their home opener, hosting the currently 1-0 New Orleans Saints on Sunday, September 24th at 12 noon Central. The Saints just kicked off on Monday Night Football as of the time of this recording, so we'll see if they win or lose. No way to know. The Green Bay Packers lead this series as well. Scott, are you shocked?
I don't think you've ever posted one where we didn't lead the series.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
We lead this series 17 games to 10. And granted, we all remember the last time we played the Saints, opening day, September 12th, 2021. The game was moved last minute from New Orleans to hot and humid Jacksonville, and everything just went downhill from there. We lost 38-3. It'll be great to finally get the Saints at Lambeau this time. Turn that thing around and wash that bad taste away. What's interesting is that although the Packers weren't all that mighty of a team in the 70s and 80s, from 1976 to 1985, we beat the Saints 7 straight times. And this, of course, was during the period that numerous Saints fans nicknamed their team the Aints because
Wow.
they were terrible, went 0-14 and into the next season. Yeah, they were bad. So I'll take those 7 straight victories. Not many Saints-Packers games jump out at me in particular, but I have a feeling that this coming Sunday's matchup will bring new memories for us Packers fans. For you, Scott, what comes to mind first when you think of these teams playing each other?
Well, I got to give a shout out to my buddy Jesse. He's a good buddy of mine. He was in my wedding years and years ago. And Jesse is one of those guys that has 2 favorite teams. And those teams happen to be the Packers and the Saints.
Oh.
And I know it's weird, I mean, I could give it to you if it were an NFC team, AFC team, maybe, but I don't know. I just like sticking to my one team. But he went to a Packers Saints game years and years ago, and he dressed up. It was kind of a cool costume. It's not quite as detailed as Pac Sparrow, but he went all out with the face paint. But he did mostly Saints stuff. But he wore a cheese head that he had spray painted the colors of the Saints because he loves both teams. Okay. And there was actually like some news website or whatever got a hold of that picture because someone took a picture of him at the game and like had it as a headline for their article for that game, and it was just like his 15 minutes of fame kind of thing. It was kind of cool to see that, like, hey, that's Jesse, like good buddy of mine. There's this great picture of him just screaming with a cheese head and Saints stuff all over. So whenever the Saints and the Packers get together, I'm reminded of Jesse. So shout out to him. He's probably not hearing this, but he's actually lives in New Orleans now, so I'm sure he's watching this game as well.
Well, he might even be making the trip up to Green Bay. If you see him on TV, let me know.
All right.
Definitely keep my eyes peeled. We actually have weather to talk about. Next Sunday's weather at Lambeau Field is forecast to be partly cloudy with a high of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 21 degrees Celsius. Still a little bit warm for football, but better than some of those games played down in Florida, that's for sure.
That's true. Well, Wayne, I've got some keys to a Packers victory this week. Are you ready for them, sir?
I am ready. Bring them on.
I don't think you're ready for my number one strategy. I don't think you are, because I'm going to say we need to shift the focus to the passing game. As much as it pains me to say it, I think it's time to take a small break from the running game. I love me some A.J. Dillon, but this week kind of proved to me that he's not a leading running back guy. He does great with the 1-2 punch of him and Aaron Jones, but unless Jones is back in the lineup this week, it's time to capitalize on the early proven talent of Jordan Love and his young receiving core. The tricky part with this, however, is that most of the left side of the offensive line, Bakhtiari and Jenkins, could potentially be out this week. We still got a full week to hopefully get Bakhtiari back, but we don't know. I think that this play call focus should be on the right side of the line of scrimmage to ensure that Love has some time to get the ball out, because these receivers are clearly ready for some action. They are hungry for capitalization on those touchdowns. So, and strategy number 2, fix whatever is going on in the defense. This should be a no-brainer. I'm not a Joe Barry hater, at least not as much as most people, but New Orleans is another running team that could walk all over this defense, especially if we give them that much time of possession that we did this week. Tighten those tackles, mind the gaps, and push like hell to give any sliver of sunshine. Just block it out of existence. I just don't want to see any of that happen. And strategy number 3, don't rely on the Green Bay weather. You mentioned already, 70 degrees. That's pretty warm for football, even in the fall. It is a home opener, but keep in mind, it's the beginning of the season. We don't have the luxury of hosting cold weather for those Southerners. With that said, imagine how well the offense could do with the hometown crowd supporting them. This could be an even more explosive week for Jordan Love. Give the fans what they want, which is to get wild and crazy for our new leader. I genuinely can't wait for him to get his first well-deserved Todd Rundgren rendition. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
And there you have it. Moving on to our 2023 season wager of fun, which, if I remember correctly, we have officially decided that, whoever win or lose, either way, we're going to play Madden. We're somehow going to play Madden online together, and it'll be Packers versus Bears. The loser has to play as the Bears, and the winner gets to play as the Packers. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm really looking forward to that. Last week, my prediction was Packers 21, Falcons 20. Wayne predicted Packers 24, Falcons 21. Our differentials don't matter because we both picked them to win, and unfortunately they lost. And sadly, everybody also picked the Packers to win on our with our listeners, so nobody gets any points. I don't think we've ever had that happen where nobody gets any points. But the good news,
I'm bringing up something you've brought up in the past.
Okay,
I did get the Packers score exactly right.
Wait, you got it exactly right? You didn't get both numbers exactly right. Oh, you got the Packers. No, dude. When I got it right, I got the
I'm just
Packers.
Clinging at straws here, so I don't have
to. No. I got the Packers and the opposing team score right that one game. Like both scores exactly right. Not just the Packers. Come on. That should have deserved something. But anyway, so the good news is that, despite the loss, I am still winning with a score of 1-0. So bring on the Madden. We've got our listener leaders, no changes. It looks like David Newman is still, in first place. I could have swore it was somebody else last week. I had it in my head that somebody else did, but maybe I'm wrong. This week, I think that the Packers will win. I do think it's going to be, there's no way the Packers are going to go down on a home opener. I think the Saints have a better running game. But I just think that it is time for some payback. I'm going to say Packers 27, Saints 20. How about you, sir?
Excellent. And I'm calling for an almost blowout. The Packers are going to win convincingly 28-17.
Interesting. Our Packers Fan Podcast listener picks for week 3 of the PFP Wager of Fun. Garrett Stritzel says Green Bay 24-20. Marty Koopman says Green Bay 27-17. Jay Walters, Green Bay 31-24. Brett Connor, Green Bay 28-24. And Dan Dyler, as you heard earlier, says Green Bay 24, New Orleans 13. There you have it.
Excellent. Good luck to all of us. And a Packers victory will definitely help one of us, me and you and Scott, and one of the listeners as well. The NFC North, the Packers are still mathematically in first place at 1-1. I'd rather be undefeated, but the Lions, they're also 1-1. Everybody in our division lost. The Vikings, though, it's great to see the Vikings and Bears both at 0-2.
Very much so.
Stinks to be them.
It could make week 4 very, very interesting, whatever happens this coming week, because it would be really interesting to have a very important game in week 4. I'm used to those intra-divisional games, being important because that's what they are. But for it to be potentially a standing decider at that point could make it for a really interesting week, and it will be at Lambeau. So there you go. Got some other NFL happenings that caught our eye this week. Can we mention how good Baker Mayfield looked this week?
I like it.
I know they're playing the Bears, so we kind of like that, but just in general, I was not expecting him to be looking that good. That was really impressive to see.
I'm very happy for him as well, and I thought he did really well when the Rams pulled him in at the last minute last season because they really had nobody else and he was available. I still am surprised the Rams got rid of him, but I'm glad that he's in Tampa and doing well. Maybe we'll see them in the playoffs.
And how about the Giants bouncing back after last week's embarrassment? That was really cool to see them, shake it off. Hopefully we can shake it off that well next week as well. Because man, that loss to the Cowboys was brutal. And are the Cowboys for real, man?
I don't know. It's only week 2. I am already so tired of hearing about the 49ers and the Cowboys. Just so tired of hearing about it. It's 2 weeks. But
I don't know, man.
The interesting thing about the Giants, though, is they bounced back, but not till the second half because at halftime they were losing 20-0 already. So the commentator pointed out, the first 6 quarters of this season, the Giants are losing 60-0. And I still can't believe they somehow came back and won that game. So props to them for somehow pulling it together.
Yep, totally. Well, moving on, I want to remind everybody about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. We release a new episode every Wednesday, and this week it is just Zach and I. Brings me back to our E3 days when he and I were sitting in LA, in our Airbnb with a microphone in between us. We talked about pets in video games, which also included some talk of our real-life pets at home. You won't want to miss that. We also played a new F-Zero game. Wayne, do you remember F-Zero on the Super Nintendo back in the 90s?
That does not ring a bell, but E3 rings a bell, and I wish they'd have one so you'd come to SoCal.
Yeah, right. But this new F-Zero game is a racing game that lets you race against 99 other racers at the same time.
Oh, my, 99?
Online together. Not exaggerating. It is fantastic. It is great. So be sure to check out us at thegamingoutsider.com. We're also hosting a video game convention on Saturday, October 14th here in good old Rockford, Illinois. So if you're in the area, please stop by and say hi. If any listeners are in the Rockford area, I would love to meet you in person and come see. I have been working my tail off getting this thing off the ground. Seriously, spent my entire summer renovating a place and all the administrative stuff that goes with it. It's just been nuts. If you want some more info on it, head over to thegamingoutsider.com/R2V2. That's what we're calling it. And you can come meet John St. John, the voice of Duke Nukem. You won't want to miss it. Thank you so very much for giving back to the Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We really do appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron and other ways to give back to the show are at packersfanpodcast.com/give back. Dan Dyler, supporting at the Jim Ringo level, definitely deserves some Go Pack Goes and thank yous. Also, Jay Walters, thanks again, and Go Pack Go for your Aaron Rodgers level patronage of the old PFP.
Thank yous and Go Pack goes to our legendary Favre 4 level supporters, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, as well as Colin Nolan in Ireland. Also, Curdy Lambeau level Go Pack goes and thank yous to Joe Christensen and Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts. If you'd like to give back to the show, maybe even become a patron yourself, check out the details at packersfanpodcast.com/give back. As a reminder, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated. No, we're not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but please follow the Packers Fan Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and remember to tell your friends about the old PFP. Thank you.
Also, you can follow us over on Twitter, not some randomly generated letter, at Packers Fan Pod or at GoCastScott and also at Wayne Henderson. Now, as we wait for Sunday's game at Lambeau Field, here's Patreon supporter Dan Dyler.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Peck Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack
Go!